Free agency is here, Miami Dolphins fans. The wait is over. It is free agency week, so that's the topic of the day in the Fins Up Network. This is the final free agent primer. Like I said, I'm recording this Sunday. It's going to be out Sunday. Legal tampering begins already tomorrow, Monday. The official league new year begins on Wednesday, and the Dolphins have already made some moves here the last couple of days, freeing up some of that salary cap space for the 2023 offseason. Things actually started before then when they released Byron Jones. Obviously, that money is going to be a post-June 1 designation, so they won't have that money right away. But the money came in on Friday. I'm sure you know by now, we restructured the contracts of Terron Armstead, Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill. We got a little bit of coin now to toss around here this offseason. And I actually talked about it a little bit when we recapped the Dolphins picking up Tua's fifth-year option. We said, you know what? They're tying themselves financially to Tua for the next 2 years, 2023, 2024. But by freeing up all this cap space and with free agency, legal tampering starting tomorrow, we can see some more commitment to Tua with how they end up spending this money, because now they got more money to spend. And they can build right now. And they can say, you know what, Tua, not only are we financially tying ourselves to you, but we are tying ourselves to you with support from other needed added players that we can bring in free agency, which is now just a complete possibility with how much money that we freed up. So that's what I want to talk about today. Last week, I actually singled out 5 players for the Dolphins that I either have heard that they have their eye on, or I think that they should definitely have their eye on as we hit free agency. So check that one out if you haven't seen it yet. I'll link it in the description below. But today I'm going to lay out a little bit more of like a blueprint for how I think things could end up playing out here in the beginning of free agency. Before I get started, what is the top thing that you want to see the Miami Dolphins accomplish in this first week of free agency? Drop that in the comments. Want to see what you are hoping the Dolphins do. But I'm going to start this blueprint with kind of a few in-house things I could see the Miami Dolphins trying to clean up right away. And first and foremost, something that could have happened, whenever ago, and I think we all would have been thrilled. That's signing Christian Wilkins to an extension. Arguably the team's defensive MVP last year. I probably didn't even need to throw the word arguably in there. The team's defensive MVP last year. Team leader, dude, celebrating with everyone after every big play. Increased production every single year. Nearly 100 tackles from the interior defensive line. All the tackles for a loss. And now he gets to work with Vic Fangio. This is probably a dream made in heaven for both Wilkins and Fangio. So I'm thinking, you know what? The Dolphins can get a deal done. It's not going to be cheap after the season that he had. But guess what? If he goes and does it again, it's going to be even more expensive. And then you're going to have other teams buying for those services as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, drinks, whatever you can do, let's get that damn deal done for Christian Wilkins. But keeping things in-house right here, the front office is going to have to decide which Dolphins from last year's squad are important, are part of the 2023 outlook. I mean, there's a lot of free agents, in-house guys. I'll name some that weren't being named. Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, Trent Sherfield, River Craycraft, Melvin Ingram, Andrew Van Ginkel, Nick Needham, Duke Riley, Landon Roberts, Greg Little, Brandon Shell. Now, I doubt all of these guys are going to be back. We don't see that happen on a year-to-year basis. But I'm thinking that we'll probably see a few. And the guys that I've singled out that I think we have at least a decent shot of bringing back, Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, Trent Sherfield, and Brandon Shell. Jeff Wilson, he's already hit the free agent prereq. That's have Drew Rosenhaus as your agent. So he's already got that. Plus, he's already said publicly that he wants to make it work with the Dolphins. So I wouldn't be surprised there. Raheem Mostert, he's got the familiarity. Same with Sherfield. Familiarity with Mike McDaniel. Probably isn't going to command super big dollars in the free agent market. Have a little bit of a leg up with them being Dolphins in 2022. And then Brandon Shell, obviously not a guy that you want in your front 5 on a week-to-week basis, but proved, man, he is worthy of a depth spot. Where would we have been last year without him? He was literally the fill-in tackle that had the most success. So wouldn't mind having him back as well. But like we said on Friday, freed up a lot of cap space. However, Not all of that money, remember, as much as we would love it all to go to these big ticket free agents, it just doesn't happen that way. It can't happen that way. We got to fill out the roster. We need to create depth. And a lot of these in-house guys can do exactly that. So now let's go away from like the in-house options. I labeled this one priority positions versus bargain bin positions. So front office has also got to decide which positions of need are going to have top dollars allocated to, and which positions can you maybe address a little bit more on the cheaper side. So I've labeled the positions with top dollar consideration to be offensive line, linebacker, and secondary, leaving kind of less expensive positions being quarterback, running back, and tight end. Now, obviously, they can address more positions than this. These are just the positions that at this point in time, I consider to be the team's top positions of need. And like I said, I talked about specific players in that free agent video from last week. Like I said, go back and check that out. But some of the names that were mentioned in that video that are more of those top dollar, high level free agents: Mike McGlinchey, Jordan Poyer, Tremaine Edmonds, Jamel Dean. So now with the salary cap, with the additional money that we had in this year's cap, with the amount of money that we were able to free up, maybe we can drop some of that bigger coin. And the names that I would say, I said it last week, I'm saying it again: Mike McGlinchey, Jordan Poyer. Those are guys that I have on good account, have ties to the Dolphins, have interest in the Dolphins have interest in them. The other guys I labeled are more kind of like a opinion preference base. But man, also, if you look at the Dolphins roster, you're going to notice a couple of things. We need a dependable tight end. Mike Gesicki, as much as we love him as fans, probably isn't going to be sticking around. He's going to get bigger coin going somewhere else. And then we need a dependable wide receiver 3 as well. Trent Sherfield, River Craycraft, both free agents. Eric Ezukama, last year's 4th-round draft pick. We would love for him to shine. Didn't really show us anything that he's ready to be jumping into those type of duties in 2023. So there's a couple other positions, like I said, that either didn't make my list or I said we could go bargain bin shopping, but important nonetheless. The next kind of part of my blueprint here, I've got restructured contracts or trade candidates. So this might be a bit of a challenge in order to do something with the 3 names that I'm going to mention. But I do have it on good account that the Miami Dolphins would like to do something with Emmanuel Ogbah, Jerome Baker, and Cedric Wilson. Now, whether that's trading, obtaining additional draft pick from those guys, restructuring the contracts of some of those guys, those are the 3 names that we need to keep an eye on. And briefly, a little bit about each. Emmanuel Ogbah, he's been great with us. A little bit of a down year last year, but kind of injury plagued until he had to call it quits. But you find him kind of falling into that category of almost like a luxury, not as much really needed after we made the trade deadline deal for Bradley Chubb. Emmanuel Ogbah becomes a little bit more expendable with that contract that he has. Jerome Baker, another guy that has just been a consistent performer during his time with the Dolphins. But there's a lot of people out there with Vic Fangio, his fit, his role. How does he fit into this defense? And with him being a little bit younger, with him being a good player, that's a name to keep an eye on because you could actually fetch a little bit back with that. And then keep in mind, that's a salary that, you know what, if the Dolphins want to free up more cap, he is a top 5 cap hit for the Dolphins in 2023. So definitely keep your eye there. And then Cedric Wilson, I would label him as an intriguing free agent addition from last year, but underutilized and never emerged as like that team's wide receiver 3. We really thought once it's Tyreek, it's Waddle, who's going to be the wide receiver 3? Well, it's going to be Cedric Wilson, kind of like a shoe-in for it. And it never happened. And in all fairness to him, he was acquired before the team traded for Tyreek Hill. So his anticipated role 100% changed from what they brought him in to do. But the writing's kind of on the wall. If Miami can get out of that contract that they did last year, I think that they would likely welcome that opportunity. So like I said, that's kind of a quick blueprint, things to look for, things to expect as free agency kicks off. Obviously, free agency it's never a perfect blueprint. Things change. It never goes as we exactly hope or as we exactly think. But I do think we'll see the Dolphins continue to show that commitment. That's the word of the week, commitment. They committed to Tua. Now they show it in another way by committing and bringing more of these bodies to help the team compete already in 2023. But like I said, what do you got? What's your top thing you want to see from this first week in free agency? Drop it in the comments. I'll be sure to make some chatter about it in there as well. And then check back every single day of this first wave of free agency. I'll be back with a full day recap of all the moves that the team has made and maybe what we can expect for some future days. But that is my final free agency primer for today, Miami Dolphins fans. Cheers. Let's have a hell of a free agency. And until next time, Fins